Nationwide DNA testing backlog has nearly doubled, despite $1 billion in federal funding. For 15 years, the Justice Department has tried to reduce the backlog of crime scene DNA samples awaiting testing at state and local crime labs. But despite experts say the problem is largely a product of the success of DNA testing, which has identified more than 440,000 previously unknown suspects over the past 20 years, and the increased willingness of police agencies to submit cases. But no one is quite. Congress passed the Debbie Smith DNA Backlog Grant Program in 2004 to support public crime laboratories' work to build capacity and process DNA evidence, and the law provided for funding of up to $150 million per year. Police can submit. The number of samples submitted for DNA testing nationwide went from about 242,000 in 2011 to 308,000 in 2017, according to the GAO's findings. The number of samples. Greta L. Goodwin, the report's lead author, said the rising backlog is attributable, in part, to the 91,000 cases that already existed in 2011, and which labs must address, in addition to the steadily rising number of new submissions. It's really an issue. The program is kind of a victim of its own success, said Scott Berkovitz, the CEO and founder of the Rape, Abuse and Incest National Network, which helped pass the Debbie Smith Act. Congress has put. Angela Delamana, director of the Alabama Department of Forensic Sciences, said the funding from the Smith Act has increased our testing, improved our turnaround time, and gotten more hits in the DNA database. But as law enforcement, turnaround time from when a sample is sent to the lab to when results are received is always a hot topic with police investigators. Delamana said that our goal is 90 days, said Delamana. That's the gold standard. Another problem that is slowly being addressed is unsubmitted samples evidence sitting in police storage that, for one reason or another, was for testing. The GAO study noted that scientific advancements have enabled scientists to develop DNA profiles from touch DNA, from the simple touching of an object, which wasn't previously possible. That increased the time. I think the labs are doing a spectacular job, Berkovitz said, but they're drinking from a fire hose. The GAO report was critical of the National Institute of Justice, which administers the grant program, for not accurately monitoring the progress of the labs to which it provided money. Specifically, but, the GAO said, NIJ later reported that eliminating the nationwide backlog is not a program goal. Officials stated. A response to the GAO report by Matt M. Dummermuth, the Deputy Assistant Attorney General overseeing the NIJ, said the goals of increased testing and reduced backlogs had repeatedly and consistently been communicated to applicants and grant recipients, and would be further communicated in the future.
Raindrop, drop top, smoking, no cooking, the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.